Hey Kimmo, how are you doing?
Hey, yep, I'm doing fine. It's like summer so slowly coming here, so it's nice. It's
Yeah.
warm.
Also here it's warm. It's almost 15 degrees. Can you believe?
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, we were in Finland not that long ago, and there was no snow, and it was quite boring because we came there to see the snow. No, none. Yeah, in
Not this
Helsinki.
year, but
Yeah,
it was last week. Was it on Thursday when it came down 10 centimeter of snow?
yeah. My brother was telling that they have in Helsinki a little bit snow. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But let's get for those that don't know you.
Hmm.
You are a legend in the metal scene in Finland because you create basically the first metal band in
Hmm.
Finland in the late 70s, Sarcophagus. But now we are talking about your project ASA, Ancient Streaming Assembly. Did I
Yeah,
pronounce it right? I'm very
yeah,
bad
yeah,
at
yeah.
pronunciation. Yeah.
It's a long one.
So, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
a artistic exploration.
Yeah, it's not really a band. It's a kind of like an art project. So basically, it's a bit like anything goes. And like like when we last time talked, it has kind of spinned to different directions, and which I really love it because it's like I have a plan, and then the plan is suddenly changed completely. And like before Christmas, I finished a new song and I was planned to make a video for it. But then this collective failure popped up back again, and it just kind of like, so now I've been doing that since Christmas. I've been doing that and making videos for it because it's going to have 12 videos, so it's quite a
Yeah,
lot of work. And 5 is done now, and so there's still 7 to
still a
go.
lot. Yeah,
Mm.
but let's talk about Collective Failure that
Yeah,
was released last February. Am I right?
sorry, it
That
was.
was released last February.
Uh, yes, yeah, because that when the first video was ready. But in a way, yes, the music is out, but for me, the actual release is when all the videos are done. So there's a
Around.
full album length music video thing. So yeah, so but it's yeah, it was yeah, it was yeah. I don't remember the date, but yeah,
Yeah,
about that
yeah,
time. Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
So, what can you tell about the wall collective failure? What can you tell about the making of?
Okay, yeah. So basically, it was actually recorded in 2004. Well, it was finished 2004. Then it was put out 2007 first time, and it was. I was working on an eight part, like 8 hour international TV series between 2005 to 2008. And so I didn't have any time to do anything. And 2007, I kind of like felt that the album needs to get out. And we had this guy who had a label that we'd known since 70s. So he's kind of, it's not a friend, but acquaintance. And so I thought that, well, he could do it. And of course he was promising everything, and he has contacts everywhere, and I can do this, and Japan, and then he didn't do anything. It was just like his business plan probably was that he just kind of like does the whatever 600 700 CDs and sells enough to cover his own cost and get a little bit of money. So there's not never ever the actual that in his mind about the artist kind of like thing. And
Yeah,
he didn't want to send any kind of like review copies of the CD to press because he thought that it's completely pointless. And so it was really bad. And then it wasn't long out when I decided that this is ridiculous, and I said that I want them out. So they were pulled out of the market, and then it's been sitting on the shelf. And And it's because it has been quite important album for me, because when I did it, it was after, I don't know, 20, 30 years of filmmaking with the corporate world, and being kind of like dealing with some of the biggest companies in the world and seeing how they are and what they do. And that was kind of like some kind of built anger inside me that came out with the album and the lyrics. And also I've been working TV advertisement, all this, and they all are quite bad for us. They are not really good things, because we are selling stuff that makes you happy, and images of people that are like that. If you're a happy person, you look like this and you have this stuff, and of course it's not like that at all. So the album is kind of like the lyrics are about all that. So, and musically I wanted to do kind of like something that has a hint of the origin, the sarcophagus, but it's modern, and so it's kind of like, I think it's still, after the kind of 20 years, I think it's still quite fresh album. I don't think there's a lot of similar type of music around. So, and that was when there was these reviews of it, they all were quite like, that they didn't know what it is. So there was one of the big Finnish metal magazines at the time. They said that they had the album and it was going around the office, but nobody wanted to review it because they didn't really know what they would say about it, because it was so different. so they didn't. And this was a guy who was a big fan of the sarcophagus in the day. So it's kind of like, that type of like, what is this? And I was really happy about that, because that's brilliant if you manage to do something that actually is something that people will be, what? So, yeah. And so it's been on back of my mind since then that I need to get it out. And before Christmas, I thought that I'll just kind of like, put it out. But then I just kind of, because I always, all my music and everything what I've done is always visual also. I always want to have a video. And of course, originally this would have been with the full album with video. But of course, there was no money to do that. So there was only one video from it. And then kind of like, you know how these things kind of, you start to think about it, and then it kind of goes this way, that way. And I suddenly realized that, what the hell, I have the AI now. I can actually create any video I want. It takes time and it takes money, but I still can do that. And so I started to kind of then render the AI videos for it, which is very tedious, slow process. So now I have basically all the footage. It's about editing them together. So it's kind of, yeah. So it's suddenly kind of like, hey, I could do this, and here it is.
Yeah. So far, there is just one video out from Collective Failure, but the more are coming soon. So
yes,
do
they
you
have
have any idea when?
I did send you 4.
Yeah, I watched them, but
yes, yeah.
When
so
they are
those
going
are the
to
ready
be,
ones now.
yeah, when they are going to be published for everybody to see.
Well, this is the interesting thing, because the whole promo, how you promote your music is kind of very different what it used to be like 10 years ago. And 10 years ago, like that was when we released the previous Angel Streaming Assembly video. There was a guy who wanted to write the story to the Helsingin Sanomat, which is the biggest newspaper in Finland, and which should be quite like, proper newspaper. And he said that yes, I contacted the editor and tried to get, like, permission to do this story. And he he couldn't get the kind of like right to do it, because it probably wouldn't have been enough clickable. That even Helsingin Sanomat, when it's about kind of culture and stuff like that, it shouldn't be about how many people are going to click it on online. But that's how it is. So it's very hard, even if you have something that is different and interesting or whatever. If it's not like, Taylor Swift has a new hat, it it doesn't, it just Taylor Swift go in, and that means that all the traditional channels are kind of gone. So we really are relying on the social media now to get your stuff out. So you have the TikTok and Instagram, and Facebook doesn't really work very well. So it is kind of like also with this, that we have all these long videos, but of course they don't really work on social media. They are too long. And so there's going to be short versions of the videos, like 30 seconds, so that we can flood the TikTok with them. So that's the kind of, I think, when you say that when it's going to be, there of course will be a proper normal press release about that. Now it's ready, now it's out. But of course then it will be a slow trickling thing, trying to get the stuff out and get people to like it, and yeah, it's a new world, but you have to adapt.
Yeah. It's quite complex with social media nowadays,
Yeah.
and also uh, because people are not used anymore to pay attention to something more than 30 seconds,
Yeah.
60 seconds. So that's a big problem.
And also because if you don't get the attention in 5 seconds, they move on. So it is kind of like, that's the weird thing, that you have to have something right in the beginning that is like, bah! And then people
Yeah.
watch longer. But of course, then you have to have more of these things so that you keep them their attention. And it's kind of, yeah, it's like everything changes, and it's some sort of a progression. But it is like, of course, the attention span that people have is like a chicken. So it's not really great for the humankind, but that's how it is. Cannot
Yeah.
change it backwards
Yeah,
anymore.
I wonder how this is going to affect the brain in a long term.
Well, I think it is kind of like it's just that we need the impulses all the time to kind of like trigger something, and yeah, I think people are not really kind of going to sit somewhere and contemplate and wonder about things. I think everything is kind of more, and I kind of understand, because I'm hyperactive, so I need a lot of impulses, and I always have, but still, of course, I can watch a long video not
Yeah,
without any
yeah,
problem, but it is because, yeah, so I think that in a bizarre way we all were kind of becoming more hyperactive, probably because of this. So I don't know.
yeah,
I haven't really read about it, but yeah, no, it's, yeah. And is it bad or good or what? I think it's about adapting to it. I think that's the kind of, like, there's all the talk about the internet, how it should be kind of like, kids should be blocked from seeing this and that. It's impossible to do that. The parents have to be able to understand the thing and then teach their children to be. It's down to but it, of course, it's not. It doesn't work that way, because most of the parents don't understand anything about internet. So, and the
yeah.
kids do. So yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
you cannot control it. You cannot really police it. I think that it's impossible.
Yeah, it is. It is because I think that the kids, when the parents are not looking, they are doing whatever they want, pretty
Yeah,
much.
and that's
And I
how
think,
kids have always been.
yeah.
It's like when
If
I was
we
young,
think
of course, we
when we
did
were kids,
everything that, yeah, it's just different things now. So it's not really, we haven't changed in that way. That of course, kids will be pushing the boundaries, and that's about growing up. So nothing new in that, but it's just, yeah, it's different things. And I think that's the kind of like the technology is more complicated now, I think, for people. And I think that's the kind of the adaptation that how we, and of course we have the problem with the AIs and everything, that you have to be quite clever to realize what is real. That it's there's so much fake news, and people use it to kind of promote all kind of weird stuff. So how you kind of keep your brain active, thinking, oh no, this might not be true, I have to check it.
Yeah.
And you see it on Facebook that people post absolute crap as some sort of truth.
Yeah, that's
Whereas
true.
it's not. It's just like somebody's agenda of promoting something that is not actually fact.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, people have a bit of issues recognizing what's real and what's not. So
Yes, and
the
of course, a lot of people.
rational thinking.
Yes, and of course, a lot of people, because of course, how the algorithms work is that they are fed the stuff that they like. So basically, you will get the news and weird stuff if you like to think like that. So they are there feeding you the stuff that they kind of hope that you like and is what you need. So that in that way, there's stuff that is just because you hope that it's true. So you kind of continue sharing it, and it's just like
Yeah, that's true. And I think that with your with this collective failure, this
Mm.
work, you get deep into topics that are very relevant
Mm.
nowadays.
Well,
So
that's the kind of weird thing that it's 20 years ago that the lyrics were made, but they are more. It's almost like it was kind of like pre-warning about, and of course things were already kind of like weird, but now it's just getting weirder and weirder. So in a way, like the album actually was 20 years earlier. I think now is the right time for it to be out. That it's more like the lyrics and content is more poignant. It means more now. So yeah, so it's
yeah,
weird things.
true. Uh, Talking about the music,
Mm.
so of course you are the one that is playing mostly, but there are other musician guests in the album.
Well, basically, there's the old bass player from Sarcophagus, and then there's Esa Kotilainen, who is the keyboard player who died unfortunately, like year and a half ago. So just very suddenly, and yeah, so he was on it, and I did the drums, and then there was my ex who was singing. So that was the setup for the band. I did the drums, but I actually was trying to get a drummer for it, but the drums were fairly complicated, so I couldn't get anybody to play on it because I asked one of the kind of famous Finnish drummers. I said, "Well, I'm not going to play that." So yeah, so that's how it remained as it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and now we can see some of your guitars on
Yeah.
your back. So we did an interview previously, but do you have any new guitar now?
But I did. I don't remember. I think this might be new, and it's kind of weird Chinese guitar that it's metal body, and it's hollow, and it's really brilliant guitar, but it's one of those victims of the YouTube because it came out like a couple of years ago, and then they sent like uh, review copies to some of the bloggers on the YouTube that are guitar related stuff, and and it had this absolutely stupid reviews. There was one guy who was driving, of course, from America, driving with a 4x4 over the guitar to test that will it take it, and well, it did. The body didn't crumple or anything, and then he was jumping on it so that the neck was leaning like this, and then it bent, but it didn't break. And it's just kind of like, would you ever do that with a Gibson or Fender Stratocaster? If we would do that, they would be just like splinters of wood. And so there was this type of very negative and just like hype type of reviews, and it killed the company. They just kind of went out of business very quickly. So I've been kind of, I have a couple of them. I've been kind of getting them around the world when I happen to see them, and yeah. So, but this one here, I have had it for a long time, but I put the lights into it, and this is kind of like recycled guitar, so it's made out of motorcycle parts, and it's kind of with the ancient string assembly. I think it's a bit like kind of symbol of the project because it's a recycled guitar and it is completely playable, but it's a bit slow guitar. So, but otherwise, I've actually been selling some of my guitars because my attic space is getting too full of
Too
stuff,
small.
so I have to kind of have a bit harvest. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those metal guitars, how much is the weight? Can you play for long standing with the guitar on, or
No. No, it is kind of like, yeah, you can, yeah, probably play a song and then your back would be started to kind of kill you.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but it's not really meant for that. It's kind of like, it's a photo video guitar.
Yeah.
Show guitar. Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I had the flame throwing guitar, so maybe this is a new flame throwing guitar without flames.
Yeah.
Just lights.
Yeah. And you like to have those guitars that are out of the world, so different.
Yeah, I've always been a bit sucker for having something that other people don't, and it's like this one here, which is an A-string guitar. That's one of, so there isn't any other, just that one guitar. So, which I'm quite happy about.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I've always been hating like Fender Stratocasters and Gibsons and all that. I've never liked them. So nothing that they are not good instrument, not about that. It's just the looks that I prefer something that looks different.
Yeah. What do you look in for in a guitar? So what is something important that there is that make you buy the guitar, make you want that guitar? What makes the guitar the one that Kimmo Kuusniemi is going to play?
Well, the looks of it is basically the thing that I go for. Like this, I really like the kind of like the design because it is quite weird looking. So
Yeah.
and it's metal, so it's quite cool. But then I customized the guitar, so like everything in this guitar I've changed. So there's not, well, the tremolo is original, but everything else is added. And I usually all my guitars have is a sustain. So basically, if you turn it on, so basically there's an infinite sustain. So
Yeah.
so that's what I'd be using for, I don't know, as long as they've been around. So I usually put that into any guitar that I actually want to play. So yeah.
There is any guitar that was like something that you were upset after buying and you were like, okay, it's not what I was thinking of?
There's been a lot of that type of guitars that I bought and been quite excited and then sold them very quickly. So yeah, I have had, I don't know how many guitars since 80s, but a lot. And I had quite many at some point. But I decided that if I'm not playing the guitar, I'm just kind of selling it because it's pointless to keep stuff that you don't use. It should, there's somebody who wants to play it and wants to own it. So sell it on and keep the ones that you actually use.
Yeah.
So all these guitars that I have here now, they are all kind of like in use. And of course, there's this one is probably new from the time that we last talked. And this is like a microtonal guitar. So you see that there's more frets
Yeah.
than in a normal guitar because this is like a normal fret length, but there's kind of like half fret. Oh, it's complicated to move your finger here. So there's kind of like in between frets. So that means that you can play kind of like a bit like Oriental music easily because there's a different scale from the Western. and it's really cool because it kind of gives completely new type of possibilities for the guitar. So I've been using this quite a lot now, and it's because the guitar I've been playing so a long time that I've kind of quite tired of the normal guitar playing. That like a normal solo, you can I've done it a million times. So it is the kind of hyperactiveness of me that I need new. I need something else, something, and go to next step or whatever. That's always been my, that I'm not really happy that, I'm now kind of like I reached this level and it's all good now. That's the next level. So it's always been like that. So
Yeah,
I'm
there is always
luckily
a next
still.
level.
Sorry?
Someone say that if you think that you know everything, then you need to change what you are doing. Stop to do that, because if you know everything, so there is always a room to improvement. That's
Yes,
what
and you
people
can.
like.
Yes, you can always learn more. It's like
Yeah,
when you think that you know it all, you don't. It's like film business is really funny because, like I said, I've done it since the 80s, so that's like over 40 years, and I've done hell of a lot of films and all kind of films, like from political videos to big corporation promotion videos and TV series and documentaries and music videos, whatever. And so basically, yes, I have quite the experience in it. And of course, one of these things is that every time you have a new project, you learn something because there's new problems, there's new things, and things never go like you plan. So it doesn't matter if you have done a lot of stuff. The only thing that matters is that you have the experience not to freak out when things go wrong. So it is that type of, and it happens all the time. It's just kind of like, and it is quite, So I know quite a lot, but I'm always expecting that something new comes along and I learn more. So
yeah, yeah,
I think it is quite bad for your personal development if you start to think that you know everything and and it would be boring. What the hell is that? If you know everything, then you're kind of like your own little god and thinking that, oh yes.
yeah. I think that when you learn something new, then you feel like I know nothing. So they say more you know, less you know.
Yeah, and
So,
and it is actually, there was of course, American study about this, that the people whose skill level is low think the most of themselves. The people whose skill level is high think less of themselves, because they kind of know that there's other people as good as me, there's better people than me, there's always. But if your skill level is low, you can just make yourself believe that, wow, I'm so good. And that's it, you kind of see it in business quite often, that people who are average quite often succeed well because they don't have the doubts and things. They just kind of believe that, yes, I'm it. And then they just kind of like, get further. And the people who are very talented don't really, because they have more kind of self-doubt and all kind of things, and they think, oh yes, but I shouldn't, no, but and then they are kind of stuck. I don't know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true.
Mm.
Um, I'm
It's
curious
one
to
truth,
know.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So, amongst the others.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what advice would you give to young musician that is living is starting of career nowadays.
It's a quite complicated thing because, of course, I think some of the things are kind of like the same as in 80s. I think that don't believe that you're a rock star, because you are not until you actually are. But that's quite common when you're young. You think that, oh, we are already it, and that will stop you, because then the most important thing is to make music, get it out and just kind of like, progress. But I think a lot of the things are the same, but I think the kind of, like we were talking about the social media, it's quite different because now you have to really, your music is important, of course, but it doesn't make you, because there's like thousands and thousands of brilliant bands and brilliant music. You just kind of go through the Apple Music or whatever, and you constantly find bands that never heard about it and are really brilliant. So it doesn't, if you have brilliant music, it doesn't make you. It's the publicity that makes you, the promotion. You have to be actively inventing things to kind of like, promote you and make you stick out so that people start to follow you. So in the olden days, you kind of like went kicking a lot. So that you kind of like were touring and kicking and people came to see you, and then there was more and more people, and that way you were. And that's how like all the Judas Priest and all those bands built themselves up, because there wasn't any other way the old days. And there's kind of, and you see some bands that are very clever with their stuff, and there's a band called Crash Karma. I don't know if you know them.
I don't.
It's like a girl and a guy. And the guy plays a guitar that is also MIDI guitar, so he can play bass on the lower strings. And they do kind of like, as the name is Crash Karma, it's with K, it's not, so it's misspelled. And they have these kind of like intros where there's somebody's doing some stupid thing. So then they're gonna have that in the beginning of the video, and then they kind of like come out of the video and start to play. And they do that type of short videos, and I find them very funny. But be kind of watching their stuff and thinking, this is really good. And that their music is good. It's nothing wrong with that. And they had a brilliant Christmas video that was like upside down Christmas tree and that type of silly stuff. But definitely they caught my eye, so that was quite good.
Yeah, that's good. I will check them out.
Yeah.
Are you going to play any gig live?
There is a plan for that, because of course, like this is kind of like a audio visual experience. It's not like a band. So, but that of course can be achieved when you have video projectors and screens and stuff. So, and because of the music, because there isn't a band really. It's just kind of like, Tuomas Rounakari is the only like permanent member of the team. All the other people just pop in and out. And so the idea would be that there would be us two traveling with kind of like, the hardware. And then you could kind of have, it could adapt to different sized places. So hopefully we could play in places that you would normally play, like Greenland or something like that, which would be very cool. And then we would have local people. So because like I come from the 80s when you could kind of like have guys and you could play together all evening without any kind of like playing actual songs, but just jamming. So I like that type of free concept that you would have the framework for the songs, but then it would change every time because of the people that are playing with you.
Yeah.
So it would become something different. So every time the song would be completely something new.
Unique.
So that's the kind of plan. And in a way, we would be looking to kind of if we can get funding for it, because of course there's all kind of EU and media funds and stuff. And because then if you would get support for the tour so that you wouldn't have to rely on the tickets, then you could actually take it to weird places, because there's a lot of places where nothing ever happens because they don't, if they have 100 people that can come to see, it's not worth bringing anybody in. Like Greenland is the example of it, just like, but there's a lot of other places. So that is definitely in the works, but it's kind of, this whole thing is taking so long time because it kind of goes to different directions. Like this Collective Failure came, and now it's taking over half year for me to get that done. And then there's another in 2007-8, I did 2 hours and 4 minutes of music. So, which was done for a project that kind of like was also leading to this, what we are now doing. And it was called Epic's Journey. And it's completely different type of music. It's more like a synthesizer, weird stuff. And
Okay.
so basically that will come out after this. The music is done, and that will have videos, but the videos will be completely different. They won't be this type of like fast flashing AR videos. They will be like low, more meditative music in a way. That type of that you can have background while you are doing something and listening. So yeah. So that's all again delaying things. So it's kind of like, but there isn't any timetable. So in that way, it doesn't really matter because it comes out when things
When
come
it's
out as they happen, and there isn't any album. So in a way, I will release stuff as it happens. So because the album format is quite dated, because you don't need a album anymore, because most of the people listen to one song. They are not going to listen to the whole album, and CDs don't sell, and vinyl does sell, but not a lot. So, and the vinyl might work with some music, but I don't think it's brilliant for my type of music. So
yeah.
yeah. So in that way, this whole thing is very loose, and it's also kind of because my priorities are a bit different, because I think COVID was good, because I think we were talking about COVID last time, because it kind of
Yeah.
made you look at your life and things that what you are doing. And one thing that was for me was that I don't want to do the corporate commercial film work. If somebody comes with a lot of money, yes, I will do whatever they want, but I'm not looking for it, because I've done it enough, and it's not great. So it's kind of like I've been working with the music and film for whatever 40 years plus, and you have got these skills, and it would be nice to use the skills for something that actually makes some sort of a sense, so that you are doing something that you can think that this is kind of good, positive, not bad crap. And in that way, the whole Angel Streaming Assembly is about that. And it's also because I have a stepdaughter, Polly, and she's just had a baby a year ago, Violet, which she's very lovely. So suddenly I have this kind of like family, that's because we've been with Judith like 10 years. So it's kind of become she's my daughter, that's how I
Yeah.
see it. And she's my granddaughter. So that's kind of taking also that I have to kind of balance all this work and everything, that I'm actually doing all the family stuff and whatever is required. And there's a lot that is always required, what needs to be done. So in a way, I think that's the most important thing. And this work comes secondary, which is quite radical for me, because all like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, there was nothing else but work. Everything I did was so important, and I couldn't even go to bed to sleep, because I had to kind of do this, because if I don't do this, and that's the hyper brain. But I've kind of like learned to be calm. I don't
To
know if
slow
it
down.
shows here, but I am calmer than and so in that way, it's all is kind of like, that the family is the most important, and then this is secondary, which is quite relief, because then I can do it with the timetable as it happens. I don't have to kind of set a deadline and then be stressed out of it, because I couldn't kind of like reach it or whatever. So in that way, it's nice and flexible.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I don't know
that's
if I explained it
relieving.
clearly. Sorry?
Yeah, that's relieving, because usually it's always on the run. You have to do this,
Mm.
and you put yourself and your closest one on the second step.
Yeah.
But the first is always the well-being of the person,
Yeah.
of the individual, and the closest one, and
Yeah.
then should be work and everything else. But it's complicated in this
Yeah, it is,
modern world.
but it also makes it because I'm kind of like, I know that what I do won't change the world, but I hope that some of the stuff that I do makes somebody think and look up. Like I said, I'm not trying to tell people how to live and what they should do and what should be, how things should be fixed. I don't know, but hopefully people will kind of something trigger something, and then they go and look up about it and then change. So if I can do that for few people, that's great. That's like
Yeah.
mission accomplished. But it is like I said, that it's quite important for me that this is actually kind of dedicated to Violet, to the granddaughter, because she's going to be living in this world. So yeah. And
Yeah.
and as we look at the world now, it's not really going to a perfect direction. It's kind of going into a very weird and bizarre direction.
Yeah.
So, and hopefully it's just kind of somehow
Yeah. Yeah.
clears
At some
out.
point will change in a better
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
But
of course,
we are at
change
the
can
end.
happen
Yeah.
if change can happen if we all decide to do something. We can change things, but the problem is that we are so self-centered in our Western world that it's just about us. It's about, can I get the next thing and can I have this? And we are not really willing to give anything away. And of course, changing all this like environmental stuff, everything, we should really change how we are, how we consume and all that stuff. And we should stop believing in this constant growth, that everything has to grow. We have to kind of grow. It's not sustainable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are
That's
hitting
true.
the point where this sustainability is coming an issue that like I said, I don't want to be a doomsday preacher. It's just kind of like, I hope that we can somehow change things and get things back to the track, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. We are in a moment that yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy um all over the front if we if we look.
Mm.
But maybe people are waking up step by step.
Yeah, but yeah, you do kind of hope it, and like I said, that with the angel streaming, at some point I'm going to do kind of like video interviews with the young people and see what they think and try to kind of get that type of input about how, because you have young people who are very kind of aware of things and do stuff, but it looks a bit like when you look around that a lot of people don't really think, young people think about actually what's happening. They are more just involved with themselves and their own lives, and that they don't actually see the bigger picture. And of course the bigger picture is very complicated because most people don't want to look outside their own life, because it's just what matters is their own little circle. And that kind of course stops the change, because then if your life is looks like okay, then the world is okay. And yeah.
Yeah, that's very true.
Mm.
But we are at the end of this interview, so thank you so much for your time. It was a
Okay.
pleasure. And would you like to say something to people that are watching this interview?
I don't know. I've been talking so much already that I don't really know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
Maybe
no.
an advice to be more sustainable?
Well, yes, I think that's the kind of like, it's little things, and if many people do that, that will change things. And it is, I think it's kind of like thinking about the things that, do you really need the next iPhone, or can you skip few models and all that? It's just kind of, I think the little things that you can actually easily change without your quality of a life going down. That you start to a bit thinking what you do, and of course that's one way of doing it. But of course, the problem is that in the bigger picture, we should be able to help the poor countries, because they are going to be suffering more of what we have been doing. And of course, our well-being and our kind of society and our products and everything, what we have is because we have been using the poor countries to build stuff for us. And so in a way, it's like if we would be building things here, we of course we should have never killed the industries. We should have been more contained with the kind of everything. But of course, it has been cheaper to transfer the factories elsewhere. And in that way, we have helped the poor countries, but also we have not helped them. So now it's kind of like when we try to fix these environmental problems, we should be able to help the poor people. But the problem is, of course, that our system doesn't really work. So we don't even have money to run our world well. So it's very complicated. So
Yeah.
this is not really advice, is it? This is just a lecture. Yeah,
But
no,
it's an important lecture.
I like I said, that I don't try to advise people or say what they do. Do whatever you do and try to think about things and try to educate yourself. I think that's the main thing, that try to educate yourself about what actually is happening. And you have sources that you can verify that are real, that actually is like the one that a lot of my thinking started was the MIT study from 1976. That was kind of like about the collapse of the civilization. That's a very happy title. And they did these kind of 4 different scenarios for the future. And one of them, which has kind of like double the resources that they thought we had, was the right one. And there was a lady called Kaya Harrington that did a couple of years ago kind of like studied the study. So she kind of went through the facts and stuff, and she realized that where we had double resources was actually the one that is very accurate. And she kind of says that normally these long-term predictions they don't work. They are kind of like going the lines off. But this one is exactly like they predicted with the MIT study. And so basically, according to that, yeah, we are heading to the bad place. But that's a good book to read. It's Kaya Harrington. It's like Gaya Harrington. And it's called Limit to Growth, which is kind of like going through the study and also then what. So that's a good book to read. If you read one book about the environment, read that one. And check her out. She's a cool lady. Very clever.
Yeah. I must check out then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that advice was like, about 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I talk too much.
It's good.
Yeah,
Thank you so
talking is
much.
good.
Yeah, talking is good. That's true.
Yeah.